and this community can help. But I have some insight into the background of the story. So Blur tells me, Mike, the first rule about Smash is that this guy that you keep having lunch with and hanging out with is irrelevant in the Smash community.
Whoa.
Now let's play off this. Everybody, I know.
Whoa.
I know.
This is what Blur said.
I know.
He told me
that
this guy, he told me this as a friend, and I trust Blur. He would never lie to me.
We're going to back it up. We're going to back it up. Let me help. Let's
he
tag
would
team this.
never lie to me.
Absolutely not.
I trust him with my life.
Absolutely not. Crimson Blur, pure of heart, pure intentions. Some of the ways that it's expressed, maybe not quite on point. But let's back it up real quick.
I don't think I even agree with that, but go ahead.
I want to give everybody the context. I remember I was walking around the wonderful partnerships area of the Twitch TV office. Yes, just Twitch, not Twitch TV. Remember that.
Yep.
Saved.
And I walk by Golden Boy.
Golden Boy for the win.
FTW.
Alex Mendez.
Now tell the stream just a little bit about the global icon. For those who are so unfortunate to not know.
Again, we're trying to link you into a lot of communities here.
This is a complex web. We're painting a picture.
We need you to understand.
You guys have to follow along with us, okay?
We need you to understand what's going on here. And Alex Mendez, who works here at Twitch, right across, is a global icon, national treasure.
We're seeing his face in the chat. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, he, probably one of the founders of just talent and FGC, or I'm sorry, FPS. Sorry, not FGC. Sorry, FPS. I started with the F thing. Yeah.
F3
Halo commentator. Halo God.
Halo Master.
What was the other one?
The dinosaur game.
No. Shoot Mania. Shoutouts to Golden Boy for
Shoot Mania.
I love Alex. That's why I said that.
Sounds like an amazing game.
Yes.
Now, I walk by.
Yes.
Mike Ross, Crimson Blur, as you said, sitting right next to each other. One of my favorite areas of the whole office. And Golden Boy walks up to the Crimson Blur and starts picking a fight.
Whoa.
He's saying, Blur.
Yeah.
You understand that Melee cannot go on.
This is a real story, by the way. This is a real story because I'm minding my own business.
Yes.
I'm minding my own business.
As you
I'm
do.
hearing this.
Mike always kind of, he stays in his own business, and he likes to let other people express themselves. Very selfless man.
Sure.
And the reason why
his head's down
is because rapper X1, brother of Sticky Fingers, may he rest in peace, told me 10 years ago that said, "Shorty, mind your freaking business." And since then, when I hear people talking, I don't mind their business. I mind my own.
Wise words.
True story. Rest in peace, X1.
And Golden Boy is talking to Crimson Blur and saying, you know what? I don't think that Melee can survive. 13-year-old game. Played in 360p. It's actually a fact. 360? What are we playing in? 480? 480i? 480i. 480i?
480i.
We're in 480i. Other games are in 1920 by 1080. The frame rate. You know what I mean? The graphics are going to kill it.
The frame rate's actually 60.
Mind you, this whole time, the Crimson Blur, for the VOD viewers, the Crimson Blur is in chat.
Is he in chat? Is Crimson Blur in chat right now?
I saw him.
Is he in chat right now?
I saw him.
Don't tell this story. This is a lie. So just want Blur's perspective to be shown to those who are unfortunate enough to not see his wisdom in the chat.
Yeah.
Now, Golden Boy effectively taunting us and saying, you know what, Melee is going to be a dead game pretty soon. I come to Blur's aid and I say, do you understand?
You come to Blur's aid.
I've got his back. I've got his back. And I'm telling him, you know what? The graphics in Melee are timeless. You look at it today, and I see nothing. 14 years later, I see nothing wrong with it. Beautiful, beautiful game.
Beautiful.
And I say something to the effect of, maybe as everybody gets used to the higher frame rate, it'll be hard to adjust as Melee is played 30 frames per second. Now, Blur.
Wait, who said that?
I said that. I made a mistake. And Blur, not recognizing that I was on his team up to this point, looks at me and says, Scar, Melee's played in 60 frames per second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is when I jumped in. I heard that.
don't even know that? You don't even know that, Scar? What do you know about Melee? And so, defending myself.
Was it just like a Freudian slip? Like you just weren't.
It was a mistake.
Heat of the moment kind of thing.
It was a mistake, Toph. It was an
And
honest
if you thought about it for a second,
it was an honest to goodness mistake.
It was a mistake.
Melee has played in 60 frames per second. Blur is correct.
Right.
Now,
and if you had thought about it for a second, you would have thought, no, yeah, I meant 60. It was just a slip of the tongue.
I messed up.
Right.
And I admit it truthfully to the stream, to the people, and to Blur that I was wrong, and he was right to correct me. However, the manner in which he did it, to say, what do you know about Melee, prompted me to want to defend myself. So I looked at Blur, and I said, Blur, what is the last thing that you've done in tournament worth talking about?
I can answer that.
You're
I can answer that question right now.
Me
I can link you guys
what
right
I know
now.
about Melee?
When I
you
heard
need
this-
to tell me the frame rate is getting you farther in tournament? Do you know my resume, Blur?
This is at the point at which I removed my headset because I started to hear some fighting words.
Do it. Demonstrate.
Right?
Demonstrate.
It was like, I'm... That's what I was
Right.
Yes,
Right.
But I was listening to what they were saying.
Yeah.
And that's because I heard that's when Bobby Scar started listing. He didn't even have to. He actually didn't. That was the amazing part to me.
But you didn't know it at this time.
I didn't know this. But like Scar was like, "Are you kidding me? My Melee resume is this, and that, blah blah blah."
Which I would love to share with everyone.
Correct. I can't recite everything because it doesn't make sense. I don't know the events. But what I heard was the rebuttal from the Crimson Blur, to which he said, "Bobby Scar, you were relevant for 3 months."
Something to
that extent.
effect.
What?
He said,
And he said, if you zoom out,
6 months.
if you zoom out in the grand scheme of Melee, you as a player are not relevant.
That's what he said.
Those were the words that he said to me.
And
Now, in my own defense, I have to start listing the names on the resume. I have to remind him that in 2008, I was a regional tournament winner, taking many, many tournaments over Eggum, Hacks Money. I have some victories over J-Man. I traveled down to MDVA and defeated Chudat at his own house.
You're naming a lot of people I know and have heard of and have seen in
defeating Chudat
videos
in his prime at his house to take tournaments from him. I reminded him of Herb 1, where Scar, young man as he was, traveled down to, I don't know, Georgia,
right?
Someplace around there, and defeated PPMD.
Dr. PP at the time.
Dr. PP at the time.
Right.
2009, PPMD. Let's go, dude. Chudat
again.
and Taupe.
That's the impressive one to me,
Taupe,
actually.
the
Twice.
Falcon Slayer. Lost to Mewtwo King in Winners Finals. Beat Taupe again in Losers Finals. Earned second place at that tournament.
To Mewtwo King.
Not to mention Genesis. Not to mention the Deep.
Yep.
Not to mention the combo videos. The tech introduced to the community. Scar Jump. Wonder where that came from. So, Mike is listening to this really hateful fight.
This exposition.
Toph,
Yeah.
Can I interject?
This is a really
something?
hateful fight. We said some mean words.
Again,
Right.
you have to understand, Toph.
Yeah.
I am not
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form knowledgeable of the Melee community.
Right.
I'm asking for help and guidance.
Yes,
Right? So I
yes.
can't comment on anything.
Correct.
I'm seeing these allegations. Now, mind you, all I know about Melee internally here at the office
Correct.
is that there was a tournament
Yeah.
consisting of some of the Twitch boys with a Z.
Oh, shit.
And
Everyone
I
here.
again, I didn't watch the tournament because
You
if
didn't watch the
I
tournament.
watched it,
Because
what would
what
I understand? I wouldn't understand anything, right?
And you're
But what
getting
I-
your news from where? What's your source
I'm
of
getting,
news?
you know,
Just out of curiosity.
I have to get.
Oh, this is all
well,
bad. Oh, this is
the
all
only
bad.
way I
don't
get
like
my
where this is going at
news.
all. I don't like where this is
Listen,
going at all.
please,
I'm
let me
listening.
finish. Please let me
Go ahead.
finish. I have to just educate the people to know where. This is just what I heard. This is just
Yeah. Yeah, no, go ahead.
the closest person next to me is the Crimson Blur,
Yeah.
and he tells me, Mike, I won the tournament. And I was like, oh, good job. And of course, like, I'm just assuming he won because from what I've heard from Bobby is that Bobby, like, probably didn't enter because I know from what he's told me, he's one of the best. He's a legend.
Yes.
He's created the pathway for a lot of Melee players. Not intentionally, it's just what's happened. So when Blur tells me this, I'm like, oh, good job, dude. I figured that would happen. You're the best. Did Scar enter? And to my surprise, Blur looked at me and said, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, I guess he didn't enter. And then I saw the results.
Yes.
And I saw that Blur was on top and Scar was right underneath. So at this point in time, I'm thinking, well, Bobby has said a lot. But what if Blur is right? What if he really is the best?
Right.
And Scar has been all talked up.
Can I throw something in real quick?
Please.
By the way, Golden Boy.
I
After
was going to ask about
Golden Boy.
I feel like Golden Boy was in the
Golden
story.
Boy eating all of this up.
Right.
He sees me and Blur really
Yes.
throwing bows.
Yeah.
We are attacking each other with
Yes.
our words, and
Yes.
Golden Boy is loving it. And
Good.
he's egging
Good.
Blur on. And he asked Blur something about, like, when's the last time that you guys played in the same tournament that was not a bullshit tournament?
Ooh!
Golden Boy said that?
To which,
He did
to
say
which,
that.
to
Golden Boy
which,
said that?
to which,
This conversation got
which,
heated. This conversation got heated.
To which the
Yeah.
answer is SoCal Regionals 2014.
There was, okay.
Who eliminated Blur?
Who did?
Scar.
Ouch.
Who made top 8? Scar.
Didn't you defeat the #1 ranked
Who
player in
defeated
SoCal
the
at time?
#1 ranked player in SoCal, Fly Amanita, to make top 8? Scar.
Interesting.
Golden Boy digests all of this information
Interesting.
and looks at Blur and says, damn, you got wrecked. Now, we take a break.
We take a break.
Blur and I look at each other, and we know that we've passed a line with each other. I actually looked at Blur, and I was thinking, like, I really don't want to talk to you right now. You told me that I'm not relevant as a player.
That's
And Blur's looking at me saying,
Hey.
listen to all the hateful things that you've said about me. You're telling me that I'm not a good player either. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's exactly what I said.
That's fine. I feel like that's not hate.
So I
feel like
walk
that's not
away.
hate. That's
I
just-
walk away.
That's just truth.
Blur stays where he is. We're both mad at each other.
Right.
We reconvene later. I say, Mike, separately, would you like to get boba?
Of course you would ask the Boba Master.
Because we're the boba masters.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Yeah, we're both Boba
Yeah,
Masters.
I'm looking forward. I actually was in a very good mood at that point. I think that I had like this something clicked in my mind. I don't know if you remember the smile on my face as I walked over and said, "Mike, let's get some boba, man. Let's
You were so happy.
Let's enjoy the
He was
warmth
seriously
outside."
happy.
I really was.
This was like an hour later.
It was really weird.
It was way later. And when you asked me, I was in the mood for boba.
Yeah.
You know,
Perfect time.
Plenty over here just got the new Nutella flavor.
Yes.
Boba, and it's very delicious.
Is that walking distance?
It's
Yes.
walking
Oh,
distance.
that is beautiful.
It's a
That is
block
lovely.
away.
That
Pretty
is
good
lovely.
news.
So Bobby, naturally, I'm like, yeah, let's get this boba. We need to get this boba. And on the way out, I saw
15 steps.
15 steps. I saw one of my personal dear friends, the Crimson Blur. And when I saw him, I was like,
Of course, he asked Mike, "Where are you going?"
I said,
And of course, Mike, unable to lie as he is,
Honest man.
I said,
to a
Blur,
fault.
I'm about to get some premium boba with Mr. Bobby Scar. Would you like to come with us? And he said, absolutely. Now, that was a mistake initially on my part because I underestimated how serious the argument was.
You just
before-
weren't thinking on that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
So
fine.
from the minute we got to the elevator, it was my reputation, the accolades I've achieved.
It was
and
bad.
Blur said, you're irrelevant. You were hot for 6 months.
tell me about the feeling in the elevator, Mike. What did it feel like? What was the atmosphere?
So what happened was, for me, as an innocent bystander, was sitting there saying, I think I just ruined friendships. Like, I should not have invited the Crimson Blur
On this
to get
Boba run.
boba. I should have invited him separately on a separate day when the two were not around to interact with each other, because this is bad. This is a disaster, and I am personally
and
responsible.
I'm in the elevator. Blur's looking straight ahead, and I'm looking at Mike like this.
This is true. And I
I'm
look
looking at
this,
Mike like-
and now I'm like, oh man, what did I do?
You
Like,
done.
I'm trying to be nice.
Done messed up, Mike.
But the story does not end there.
That's correct. We walk 3 blocks.
We walk 3 blocks
3 miserable blocks.
of constant, you suck, Bobby.
Hate.
You're no longer relevant. Blah, blah, blah. The Crimson Blur, I made you who you are, blah, blah. You
I did, and I pulled that card.
Yeah,
you remember
he
who got
pulled
you
all this.
who got the interview for
That's
you,
right.
bro?
That's right.
Who,
So we're...
who helped you think about Twitch partnerships
So-
and what it takes to represent Twitch
Yes. Yeah.
in the
here's-
esteemed Super Smash Bros. Melee community? Who helped you along the way, Blur?
Yes. Yes. So now, Bobby, it's gotten personal, right? And now we're in line.
Yeah, this is more than Smash careers.
This is further than Smash.
This is life careers.
I said these guys, like, it's over.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to come back to the office on Wednesday and shake hands and say, hi, Blur, how are you doing? Hi, Scar, I'm good.
Right.
No.
And the depths of the disagreement, you would need a miracle to resolve all of this in the next hour. Right. It's impossible that two people...
in the next several months, because it's done at this point.
It's impossible.
There's no way.
By the way, when did this happen? What day was this?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, okay.
2 weeks ago.
Roughly.
Now, mind you, at this point, it was already to the point where both dudes were like, I'm not apologizing unless you apologize. Like, it really got to that point.
Now,
this was serious. Why am I lying in the chat?
No.
Tell me I'm lying.
No.
You were both fighting for apologies.
It was worse than that.
neither one of you wanted to give one.
It was so much worse than that because Mike, the gentleman that he is, the peacemaker that he is, he looks to both Blur and I. You know, we're talking about who's going to pay. We're either obviously not talking to each other.
This is true.
Only talking to Mike.
him. What did I say?
Mike looks at both of us and he says, you know what, guys? Thank you for coming to get boba with me. I will pay for both of you.
This is true. This is true.
And would you like me to tell the stream what I said to you, or would you like to tell
What
them?
did you say to me?
Because we both knew after you said it what I was going to say.
What did you say? Tell them.
I looked at Mike in the eyes, and I said to him, thank you for offering, Mike. I will not accept boba from anyone who pays for Blur's boba, and even if you buy it for me, I will take the full cup of boba, and I will throw it in the trash.
This is true.
I will kindly take the boba from you. And I wanted him to know that with all seriousness, if he goes against my wishes and buys the boba, as well as Blur's, that I would say thank you, take the full cup of boba, and slowly place it in the trash.
He said this in front of Blur. If I've offered to buy both of them. Now, if I bought just him boba, he would take it and drink it.
Right.
But if I paid for Blur's, then he was going to take the boba that I got him and throw it away.
Hateful.
Now, mind you, at this point, we're already in line when I offered to do that because I'm trying to settle peace. I'm like, dude, you guys are my boys. I can't have this happen.
Right.
And what were we talking about? We were saying, because there was a buzzword in the middle of it, right?
I'll explain that.
Okay. You remember the buzzword?
So then what happened was the argument persisted.
Yes.
He already just, like, that's the most disrespectful thing you could say at this point. If you buy a drink for both Blur and myself, I'm not accepting your free gift. I'd rather buy it on myself. And Blur at that point is like, dude, same thing. I don't care. And then Bobby started snapping again.
I feel like Blur was just biting, by the way, at that point.
Oh, Blur was, he knew what he was doing. Blur had an agenda, and he was getting
he was
knee
even
deep.
after I acknowledged it, right? I even said at some point, like, you're just saying these things to upset me, and I know
and Blur
it.
said,
Blur
said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, Bobby. You're just not relevant anymore. Right? He just kept attacking.
In the boba store?
At the boba store. And then Bobby was like, you know, we're talking, and even I asked a question, and I'm like, dude, you commentated or something. And Bobby was like,
we were asking it by that definition. We were trying to figure out what's the definition of relevant for Blur. And I was saying, think about, you know, think about
what
KDJ.
Does relevant mean?
Is KDJ relevant? He says yes. You know, we go through a couple of names, and I feel like we landed on someone like, I don't know, Kirby Kaze, or someone who like clearly is relevant.
Yeah.
And you know, Blur, based on his definition,
Blur at this point is just trying to make some.
He would have said, no, even that person is not relevant. Mike Ross has the intelligence and the instincts to ask, now Blur, how about me? Let's talk about Mike Ross's career.
In Street Fighter.
Given everything that you've said about who is and isn't relevant, would you say that I am relevant?
And if he said, no, I'm not.
That is beautiful.
And if he said, no, I'm not,
right?
Would I have been offended? No. I would have said, dang, well, maybe I need to work on something. Because I trust and respected Blur's opinion on relevancy. I respected his opinion on relevancy.
There's a syllable at the end
so
of that word.
So if he told me that I was no longer relevant, I would have sat back and said, well, let me work on that. No. A, am I trying to be relevant? That's the first question.
Get him, Mike.
Sure.
B, what do I need to do to achieve that? Now, when Blur said, defined his clear
his criteria,
and cut criteria for what relevance is, such as you must be a recent player, you must have placed top 8 at EVO.
Something like that.
As he said, let me reiterate that for the stream to hear what Blur said.
Yes.
You must place top 8 at EVO.
And mind you, not everyone knows that when people talk about Mike Ross and his 4th place, Mike always gets 4th place, blah, blah, blah. They don't mention that he got 4th place at EVO, the most competitive Street Fighter tournament in the universe.
That doesn't matter.
Just wanted to bring that up.
That
I know that
doesn't-
you
you're
won't.
telling- you're telling me
I know
this.
that you won't.
Thank you. It doesn't matter. It
Mike,
doesn't
not
matter.
a man
We
to
don't
toot
need to
his
talk
own
about
horn.
that. We don't need to talk about it
Just
anymore.
wanted everybody to
We
know.
need to finish the story.
Right.
Because the point is,
Yes.
is the minute that was said,
Yes.
you might have gotten that vibe. I got that vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we are in line, there was a gentleman behind us
Oh,
who was
shit.
not part of this
Oh,
conversation.
shit.
And you saw his eyes and ears light up when he heard, he's waiting in line. I'm just trying to get this plenty. I heard they got Nutella. I'm trying to
Right.
get this new flavor.
Right.
And then blah, 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 blah. Evo. And then he looked up and looked at the group that was talking and stared directly and covered his mouth and was like, pointing at Bobby. You're that guy from Evo. You're Bobby Scar.
Says, oh my God.
And when he said that, first, I'm not going to lie, I dropped everything. I ran. I said, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Because Bobby Scar and the Crimson Blur have been arguing for 3 hours now about relevancy.
Yes.
Here's a guy randomly
He crushed
in
the
line.
debate. There's no more debate.
No. It gets
Randomly,
better.
no more debate.
It gets
Listen
better,
to me finish
Toph.
the story.
It gets better.
Randomly in line.
The only way this story gets better is if Blur asks the guy with a straight face, Bobby, did you pay this man off?
Okay, now that didn't happen, but wait. Because obviously, we already assumed that it's just not possible.
Right.
It's not possible.
No.
But the thing is that happened is I'm witnessing this.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm asking the dude.
Right.
Wait
I'm
just
like,
a minute.
Dude,
Can I cut in? Because I remember the exact
Interject.
sequence of events.
Interject.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Now.
yeah. I want to hear it from,
Now, I'm telling you this whole time I'm miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable. Blur attacking my very character. I had a frown. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be anywhere
I know what
else.
miserable Scar looks like.
Now this man says, oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you Scar? And I swear I can't explain what happened to the contortions of my face, but they went from misery to the biggest shit.
Can I tell you what you
grin.
did?
The
Because I remember
first
what
thing
you
that
did.
I
You popped
said,
off.
the first thing that I said, I did pop off. I said, "Why, yes, I am Scar." Do you happen to know this gentleman to my right? Pointing to Blur.
This is true.
Do you happen to know this gentleman to my right?
And when he said that, he was pointing directly at the Crimson Blur.
Right.
And
Because
what did our good
obviously-
friend say?
Obviously, if this gentleman,
Right.
this gentleman who is just waiting in line,
Right.
trying to get some delicious
Yes.
milk tea
Yes.
with 50% sugar because
Yes.
he was in shape.
This is true.
He was asked if he knew who that gentleman was next to him, which was the Crimson Blur.
Yep.
And he looked at him with that smile and was like,
I don't know you. And of
Not
course,
quite sure.
Of course, I continue to pop off and I say, "Oh, this is the Crimson Blur,
Right,
the
right.
tournament organizer of such esteemed
hold
series
on.
as
Right.
Kings of Cali."
he gave his whole resume
Right.
and said, the Crimson Blur,
The Crimson
who
Blur.
ran this in this year,
Yep.
presented this exhibition match,
Right.
can't believe-
commentated this.
Yep.
Do you know who this man is?
Now, mind you, of course, Blur is going to go to his first line defense.
Yep.
And say,
Sure he is.
of course,
I'm staring at the chat right now waiting for
Brandon,
it.
of course, Brandon, who is now my hero.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Brandon's name and face. Brandon
gentleman in the line, his name was Brandon.
obviously knows this man only for commentary.
Yes.
Because that's the only capacity in which
can I
you're
finish?
relevant.
Please.
Mike.
Please.
Please.
Now,
take it.
Now, I'm only going to continue because I want to tell the people, because
This is a true story.
You might lie
Can
to
you
them.
believe that this is a true story? This happened in the world
sometimes
2 weeks ago.
Sometimes truth is truly stranger than
Continue,
fiction.
Mike.
The only reason why is because if he tells them, he might lie to them to make it sound better. I don't know anything about this stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So what
right.
I'm hearing-
Right, no, you've established from the very beginning that you're coming in as an outsider. Your
Yeah.
headset
Not
was
sure
on at the
who's
beginning of the
right.
story.
I don't know. I believed Blur. Like I said, I believed
Right,
Blur.
right.
My perception has changed since then because now at this point, Blur was like, okay, Mr. Random guy in line that Bobby probably paid you for. Like, this is what he, obviously. Because he can't believe this is real.
Right.
He's like, well, it's clear that you
This is a
watched
setup.
Evo this year.
Yeah.
You saw him commentate.
Absolutely.
Right.
And now you like this guy.
Right.
To which this gentleman named Brandon, who was in line,
Yeah.
interning at another company at the time,
Yes.
Cool.
was like, yeah, I know him from Evo. Bobby, can I just tell you, I loved your Falcon combo video back in the day.
Ooh.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. And of course, Q-Tip Factory, is that you?
That's not him. That's not him. That's not him. That's not Q.
All right,
No.
Of course, Blur goes to his second line defense.
Yep.
Only knows him from commentary.
Right.
You only know Scar from his combo videos.
Commentary and
When's
combo
the
videos.
last
This is
actual
true.
set that you've
hold
seen?
On. Now, hold on. First off, you got to keep
Please.
in mind, at this point, Blur, if you look at his face, this is the look of a defeated man.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
no,
a
no, no,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
This is a
He has
random.
No, he's really reaching into the bag at this point. No, I know what that looks like.
This is a random gentleman.
This
who
guy's
now-
down. This guy's he's down 0-2 in the
Yeah,
set.
he's like, oh my God, are you guys have been talking all this time,
Right.
But you're actually Bobby Scar, like the legend, right?
Yes.
He sees that, and then he's like, dude, your combo video was so sick.
Right.
Now, Blur is visibly upset,
He's shook.
uncomfortable.
He's shook.
He's lost his poise.
Yep.
He doesn't know who he is as a man
Right.
at this point.
He's scrambling for anything.
To
anything.
which he now challenges this said spectator,
Right.
fan of Smash content,
Right.
and says, can you name one Bobby Scar match that you like?
Okay. Okay.
And then you're going to have to fill this in. I'm going to try to guess. You want me to try to guess at what it was?
You
Yeah,
can guess,
right.
Because I
Please.
did tell the
hope
story
I'm-
afterwards.
I hope I'm not right. I mean,
Right.
I hope I'm not wrong.
You're- You have to
So
be
then-
wrong. You have to be
and
correct.
If I'm not mistaken, this dude looks at Blur and was like with a confused face, I'm probably going to get the name wrong, and was like, yeah, it was when Scar like beat Ken, was it?
Nailed it.
Was it Ken? Okay.
Nailed it.
He beat Ken at like some major tournament or something like
S-Mom64 knew it because I knew it going into it, exactly what said he was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
He said, wait. Because Blur asked him the question straight up. He said, wait. I actually know this one. Mm-hmm. I think it was Scar versus Ken
At
for Evo 2000. He told the whole story.
Yep.
For whether or not Ken went to
Would
Evo,
go to
right?
Evo.
It was like a money match for like whether or not they go to Evo.
Yeah.
And I say, thank you, Brandon, for settling this long conversation between me and my good friend,
yes,
the Crimson
the
Blur.
Crimson Blur. You still gave him credit as the good friend, and what I thought was so funny about that.
Yeah.
The most comical aspect of that whole interaction. At
I'm
the
actually
end-
tweeting his Twitter right now.
Tweet
so
him out. Tweet him out.
Please tell Bren_Carruthers that he is really the champion.
What's so funny to me about that, and of course, this is from a total noob. I apologize.
Yes.
I'm not educated on
fine,
the
it's
Smash
fine,
World.
it's fine.
But what I learned afterwards, after this whole interaction,
Yeah.
what Scar mentioned to me, and he even brought it up to this guy, Brandon. He said, did you know that tournament was run by this guy, and this guy commentated Crimson Blur,
That he
Right.
and the guy
commentated
was
that
like,
set.
So for me, a guy who is, who sits so close to Crimson Blur,
Right.
Thank you.
I have to listen to everything he says.
Right.
I started to.
The
hold
gears
on.
are turning.
The gears are turning.
I don't want to. I don't want to use this word.
Go ahead.
I started to doubt the credibility of the things that Crimson Blur tells me directly, and that's why you guys asked me to come here, because I needed some clarification on who to trust in the Smash community. Thank you.
Also, by the way, if you check out my tweet, and if you look at the picture that it's tied to, I swear to God, my friend Brendan Carruthers looks exactly like Marv from Home Alone.
Daniel Stern, City Slickers.
I would really love for Spencer to be able to pull it up, but I don't know if you got that tech skill. But I'm going to show it to Toph. Tell me he doesn't look like Marv, dude.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely.
That was a
From
dead
Home Alone.
ringer
From
for
Home Alone.
Marv.
From
Let
Home
me
Alone.
see the
From Home
camera
Alone.
so that I can.
Doesn't he have
Come
that
on,
same?
dude.
He has
you
that
need to-
same hair.
You're just going to have to upload the picture.
Just
It's
go
I
look
took-
at his
I took
hair.
that photo.
Jay,
I took
guys,
that photo.
Mike Ross took the photo.
Twitter.com
I did
/
take
Bobby
that
Scar.
photo.
Spencer's going to pull it up because he's a god.
Also, the story has a happy ending. Story has a happy ending.
I feel like it's already happy.
I ended
I'm
up
super
buying
happy at
boba
this point,
for
yeah.
everyone.
This is
For
true.
everyone.
This is
I
true.
bought boba for everyone.
That is Scar, Mike, Blur, and
and this gentleman.
right.
And Blur and I were able to make up. I apologize for anything
You guys
that
are
I
good friends
said.
to this day.
Anything that I said that would have insulted him. And, he said, you know what, Scar, I guess you are relevant. Anyway.
Wait,
Thank you.
let me tie this together. Let me, sort of, you know what because I'm listening to the story. I'm actually hearing this story for the first time.
Yeah,
which
I
actually,
saved it.
which
I'm
actually,
so glad you hadn't
which
heard
actually is which actually is blowing my mind.
I
Because
saved it.
Me and Scar talk.
I would have told you that instantly if it wasn't for this show.
Yes. Me and Scar are very close buddies, and we talk about these things. We talk about these little incidences in our in our lives, right? That are pertinent to each other, to the Smash community, to our status within the scene, what have you. And we share these stories with each other. And so I'm hearing this for the first time. But what I'm seeing is Mike Ross, the man, who sits next to Crimson Blur, and from the start of the story to the end of the story, you see. And you feel the realizations and the learnings and the education of who's who, of what's what.
Yes.
And that's really at the end of the day, as a commentator, and I think we can all sort of share in this, as a commentator, what you really want at the end of the day is you want to see the people learn and grow.
You want the truth.
You want the truth.
That's all of us want.
Right. And we want to spread the truth amongst, the fans, the community, the players, And that's what happened. Is the truth was exposed and brought to light. And so what can anyone ask for? The fraud was exposed.
This is true.
Tomorrow's going to be a bloodbath.
Tomorrow's going to be a bloodbath from Crimson
I'm sorry, Blur. We just had to we had to tell the people the events that transpired on that wonderful day. Thank you so much, Mike Ross.
Hey.
For